You're listening to the Joy of the Gospel on our fall Care-a-thon. We've got a Care-a-thon goal of $125,000. And so we're asking that you would partner with us in reaching that goal. As Danetta just said, when you donate to Divine Mercy Radio, you then become you become part of our community. And our community is here for the purpose of spreading the gospel. And so that gospel message, the joy of the gospel, is so countercultural. There's so much of the culture out there that wants to be a relativistic thought that there is no truth. But we know that the truth of the gospel is the truth. We know that Christ is the truth, and we want to get that out there to as many people as possible. So if you're listening and you can help us do that, call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Or you can go to dvmercy.com. And at dvmercy.com on our webpage, you can look at the thermometer, and the thermometer will get updated daily so that you can see where we're at toward our goal. I want to remind everybody that we do still have a lot of those matching funds. So when you give, your giving is automatically doubled. So if you can give $500 today, that becomes $1,000. If you can give $250, that becomes $500 right away. And so we thank you all for doing that. We ask that you would continue to call in, especially new donors. We always need those new donors. 785-621-4110. Please help keep us on the air, help keep us going, and help us to spread the joy of the gospel. All right. We are getting ready to start a new hour, but before we do that, I want to remind everybody that you are listening to 101.7 KJDM Lindsborg and Salina, 105.7 KMDG Hayes, 88.1 KRTT Great Bend, 88.1 KVDM Hayes, and 89.1 KGOH Colby. We have such a good lineup here this morning, folks. As you know, we do 2 trivia questions every morning or every hour. And so before we get to Father Brian McCaffery, blessing to have you in here with us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Actually, maybe don't read the answer. I'm going to have you read the question.
Okay.
Does that work?
Sure.
Okay. So the first question of the 8 o'clock hour, call 785-621-4110 if you think you know this. And if you get it right, we will put your name into a drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. And if you don't think that you could use that gift certificate, you can give it to me. I'll use it within a couple of minutes. 785-621-4110. All right, Father, go with the question.
All righty, here we go. Who did Mary visit after the angel Gabriel came to her? Was it A, Joseph, B, the high priest, C, Elizabeth, or D, her parents?
All right, read it again.
All righty, one more time. Who did Mary visit after the angel Gabriel came to her? A, Joseph, B, the high priest, C, Elizabeth, or D, her parents?
785-621-4110 if you think you know that answer, or if you would like to pledge just like Lester and Danetta Robin did. They pledged $250 above their monthly donation, so they already give monthly. They're both a part of our board, and it is fantastic. Thank you so very much, Lester and Danetta, for everything that you do and for your upped giving. We ask that you would call and give like them. 785-621-4110. All right. Now, without further ado, we've got, drum roll, Father Brian McCaffery.
Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having you, or thanks for being here. It's great to have you. I think that's what I meant to say. So we're talking this morning about the joys of being a high school chaplain. So for anybody who doesn't know Father Brian, he was ordained on June 5th of 2021. And is the current chaplain of Thomas More Prep Marian Junior Senior High School here in Hayes. He's also the parochial vicar of Immaculate Heart of Mary Parish in Hayes, and is the assistant vocations director for the Diocese of Salina. Did you want any other duties?
I'm good with those 3. That's enough for now.
Are you sure? Maybe the bishop's listening. So, every so often a priest has to go through this. But what was it like for your transition in moving from one parish to another?
Yeah, it's actually my first time having to deal with that transition, and it's something that priests have to do a lot throughout their lives. Mm-hmm. Some more than others, but we all get moved around. So I found moving was both easy and difficult at the same time. It's kind of a mixed bag. One of the things that actually reminded me of, kind of as an analogy, I guess, is after I finished third grade, I grew up in Manhattan, went to the public schools there, but my family moved. And we just moved into a different house across town, but I had to switch schools. And so going from one school to the other, both schools, they were in the same district. They followed the same curriculum, the same schedule, like there's a universality there where like a school is a school is a school. So I could go into any school and I may not know that school, but I know a school. I know what's expected of me and everything. But at the same time, it's a different community. There's different people. There's different just customs and traditions. And, you have to kind of figure all that out as you go along. And so I found it the same way moving parishes. Every parish in our diocese, like we're one church, it's the same liturgy, the same canon law, we have the same bishop, the same everything, so in one sense, I could go to any parish and one parish is like the other, I know what to expect, but at the same time, each parish is different. You have a different community, different people, different just little customs and traditions that are particular to that place. And so I guess one of the, difficulties is just figuring all of those out as you go along and not saying, well, this is how we did it back in my old place. People don't like that, but just kind of learning, how things are done here in Hayes. And, but overall it's been good. It's been a good transition. I've enjoyed it.
Fantastic. I want to break in really quick to congratulate Mary Ann Bohm from Salina. She wins the trivia question. The trivia question was, who did Mary visit after the angel Gabriel came to her? And that correct answer is Elizabeth. So thank you very much, Mary Ann, for listening. Congratulations. We'll get you put into that drawing for that gift certificate for $50 to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. Call in and let Father Brian know how appreciative you are to have him as your pastor, to have him as, if you're one of the parents of a TMP student, call in and donate today and say, hey, Father, thank you for everything that you do. And we thank you for being on the radio. 785-621-4110. We're talking with Father Brian McCaffery about, we started in talking about his move from a parish. And I think it's really cool that we just had Danetta on here and she was talking about Mary's virtues, and one of them is blind obedience.
Yeah.
Because as a priest, you have to profess that to your bishop, don't you?
Yeah, we do. At our ordination, we promise obedience to him and all of his successors.
Yeah. So when he says, hey, I need you to up and move to Hayes, you don't really just get to be like, nah, I don't think so.
Right. Yeah. we just go where we're pointed. We do what we're told.
So that is fantastic. I mean, because priests are superheroes within our diocese. So thank you for that. And thank you for living out that virtue. We appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So now, what are some of the blessings and struggles that have come with this moving?
I'd say blessings. You get to know more people, you get to form new relationships, have new experiences, stuff like that. Also, just for me personally, I'm still not a pastor. I'm still with another priest who is the pastor. So in Salina, I was with Father Kevin Weber. Now I'm with Father Nick Parker. And so just getting to work with and learn under two different priests. They're both great pastors, great men, good priests. But maybe just have different ways of doing things. So just get the experience of learning from two different priests of how they run a parish. So that's just good and enriching for me and my own continued formation. I'd say some of the struggles, I'm obviously saying goodbye to the old place. I really enjoyed my time in Salina. Have a lot of good friends there, formed a lot of good relationships, especially there at like the high school. Just really enjoyed my time there with the students, and you're having to say goodbye and leave, it's difficult. And so, you have to come to a new place and you have to start all over. One of the other struggles with me is names. They say John Paul II could meet somebody and 15 years later remember their name. I don't have that gift. I'm the opposite of whatever that is, and so, I feel like I just got to the point in Salina where I knew everybody's names and then I got moved. So now it's just starting all over, so that's just a personal struggle for me, I guess. So, and
you have to, as I was at TMP for 10 years, I agree with you. You spend so much time learning the students' names. And then every year, you get that new class that comes in like, oh man. And you don't want to not know a kid's name, but I'm the same way. I'm so terrible with names.
Yeah. And so a lot of them in the hallway just become, Hey, man. What's up, bud?
How's it going? Yes. Not that we don't want to. It's
Right.
just our brains are, I don't know what it is. So I can see that would be a struggle. So I want to break in really quick again and thank Don and Deb Klaus, who donated $250. Thank you, Don and Deb. We really appreciate it. And we ask that other people would partner with Don and Deb, partner with myself and everybody who supports these radio waves. Let's keep the joy of the gospel going. 785-621 4110 for your pledge. If you have never pledged before, please consider doing so. If you are sitting there, kind of, well, do I call? Do I not? Pick up the phone and call 785-621-4110. I can promise you that being on the board, that we do everything to make sure that every dollar is used for building up the kingdom of God. We don't spend anything frivolous. We have a good group of people that make sure that we're all staying in check, and it is a blessing to be on that board. Call in 785-621-4110 with your pledge. We're talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. So talk a little bit about, was there anything else you wanted to add to your blessings and struggles of moving here before we kind of move on to, what are just some of the differences between the towns?
Yeah. I think we can move on to that. Because what are some of the differences? That's actually the question I've been asked a lot. Actually, people ask me, not just what are the differences, but which do I like better?
Oh, yeah.
Especially
you don't have to ask.
I won't. Especially when I run into some people from Salina, they're like, "Do you like them better than us? We're better than them,
it's
right?"
Like when your child goes, "Who's your favorite?"
Exactly.
Child?
Yeah. Like, no, I love you all equally. It's like, no, you don't. Who's better? No, they're both Salina, both Hayes. They're both great communities. Similarities, like both. Great towns, great people. Both are among the bigger towns in our diocese that have, multiple parishes, and both have a high school, a grade school. And so that made Hayes very, I guess, familiar when I got here because of those similarities. But differences, obviously, Hayes is, a smaller town, which just brings with it kind of a different culture than what you have in a bigger town like Salina. But I guess one of the things I've noticed is, like in Salina, one of the things I think that makes Salina unique in our diocese is Salina is like the central hub of the diocese. It's where the cathedral is, it's where the chancery is. And I'd see the bishop on a regular basis, I'd see the chancellor on a regular basis, I'd see the superintendent on a regular basis. And so just kind of be kind of at the center of the action right there. Out here in Hayes, we're a little more removed from that, but I've also noticed Hayes seems to have a very, I guess, strong Catholic identity just among all the parishes, like all the Heartland parishes. Some places you go, like you might have a really strong community within the parish, but I feel like I've noticed in Hayes or maybe Ellis County as a whole, it's not just one parish that's strong. It seems to be the whole Heartland area has a strong like Catholic identity and a strong community, and that's been really cool to see and really cool to be a part of.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you for that. We are talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. I just want to remind everybody that you're listening to the Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. We do have that full goal for our Care-a-thon of $125,000. And that helps us to keep the lights on and keep the radio waves going. And then you can give at 785-621-4110, or you can donate at dvmercy.com. There's also a list of our program guide for the week, but also our program guide just normally. So if you're looking for something, one of my favorite shows is Catholic Answers Live. And so, look up those shows, see what kind of programming we have, and tune in often. But also there's all kinds of things on our website that you can check out that we have going on. We've got the thermometer there that shows how we're making it toward our goal. Like I said, the programming and other things. So check out the website, call into 785-621-4110 with your donations. Or if you've got a question for Father Brian McCaffery, you can call into 785-621-5061. That's 785-621-5061. And we can either put you directly on the air, or you can ask your question, and then they'll send it into the studio, and we'll ask Father that question for you. And that goes for any of the guests. If you're listening throughout the week at all, call 785 621-5061. We'll get your question. And that's actually the best ones that we have, is when we have call-in questions, because then we know that we're getting exactly what you guys want to know. And I know Father would enjoy it also. Listening to or talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. Call in with your donation, 785-621-4110. All right, Father, let's get back to our discussion here. And so you became the high school chaplain. Were you high school chaplain in Salina also?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So that part is familiar then.
Oh, yeah.
So something that would have been kind of an easy transition because you were already doing it. So what does a high school chaplain do?
Yeah. So I guess put simply, I'm like the spiritual father to the school, and I'm kind of responsible for the spiritual needs of the students, of the faculty, the staff. So obviously that's doing the sacraments, saying mass for the students, hearing confessions, and the other priests in town help with that. They'll sometimes come in and take masses too. Gives the students a break from having to listen to only me. Be outside of the sacraments, just being there for sometimes students need counseling or direction, just need someone to talk to, stuff like that. So I'm just kind of available for whatever is needed spiritually in the school.
How many times a week do you have mass then?
Let's say the students all get mass once a week. So high school gets mass once a week, junior high once a week, and then once a month we have an all school mass where the junior and senior high are brought together.
Okay. And how often do you guys offer reconciliation then?
So I'm in there at least once a week, but then on the first Fridays of every month, we have like adoration all day, and the religion classes go there, and a priest will be available all day for confession on those Fridays. So,
but you hop in once a week and offer it to anybody who might need it.
But then also available by appointment. So sometimes students reach out and just say, "Hey, can I go to confession?" And
all right,
yeah, absolutely.
Do you ask them first? Did you want to do this just to skip class?
Yeah, some of them might. Yeah.
You know what? Whatever, as long as they're going.
Right.
Hey, you're getting a sacrament, buddy. Nice
That's
job.
Right.
Oh, that is fantastic. So do you go into any of the classes then and speak with the classes at all?
Yeah. So sometimes in a more formal way, like one of the religion teachers might ask me, "Hey, can you come in and talk about X, Y, and Z, or come do a presentation or whatever?" Sometimes I just randomly pop in, unexpectedly, unannounced, just to see what's going on.
Teachers love it when you do that, by the way.
Yeah. No, I warn the teachers. I call them my heresy checks, just to step in to see if any heresy is being taught. And so far, no.
Awesome. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, but otherwise, I'll sometimes roam the halls, and I don't want to interrupt too many other classes, but I found once in a while I'll just pop into like the art room, and just as students are sitting there working, just kind of go in and chat with them. And so that's been fun too.
That is really cool, because then you get to make those relationships with kids where they're like, "Oh, wait, he's not just in the confessional."
Right.
He's actually here in my other classes.
Yeah. Get to have real conversations. And
yeah, that is so cool. And I've seen a lot of the kids that are very talented, especially when you talk about art. Like, I'm always amazed. I go in there and there's just, the talent that these kids have.
For sure.
So that is wonderful. We are talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. So we're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, The Joy of the Gospel. If you would like to partner with us, please call 785-621-4110. We started out this morning with somewhere around $24,000 or $25,000 in matching funds. I think that people know how that goes, but just in case you don't, when you call in those matching funds, people give those to us pre-Care-a-thon, so that let's say that I would call in and donate $500, that immediately gets doubled to $1,000. And they do that because they believe in our mission and they want to see us succeed. Our mission always is the mission of the church, and that is to save souls. And so we want to do that. That's why we bring on these guests, and that's why they give of their time, as they believe in the mission of what we're doing. Call 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. Become a partner with us and help us to spread the joy of the gospel. We're going to get right back with Father Brian McCaffery talking about the joys of being a high school chaplain. So, we are talking about just kind of your everyday interactions within TMP.
Mm-hmm.
when you go into classes, do you kind of just do a Q&A? Do you have a specific thing that you want to talk about? Is it a mix of both, or?
It's a mix of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I've gone in, like at the beginning of the year, I visited some classes and I just said like, hey, I don't know you and you don't know me. So let's just kind of, get to know each other, do a Q&A, ask me whatever. Then there's other times where a teacher's like, hey, can you just come talk about this specific topic, or we're talking about this in class. Can you come, give some input on it? And so it's a mix.
Yeah. That's probably when they're like, I don't have anything planned. Hey, Father.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah. Or
that's what I would have done.
Or a lot of times questions come up in class and the teacher is like, I don't know. That's a father question. And so it's
there you go.
Yeah, so Father, can you come to class and answer these questions that are
Now, I loved Q&A day. Do you enjoy going in and just fielding questions? That was actually one of my favorites.
I do. And it's fun because you get just the most random questions.
Yeah.
Once they learn like they don't have to ask like serious questions, like I'll start getting questions like, all of your clothes are black. Is your toothbrush black too? Like is everything you own black? Just stuff like that. Or
that's great.
Just kind of these goofier questions. And that gets really fun.
Yeah, that's actually, I think that's when that you've that the class has turned the tide a little bit, and now you're like, oh, okay, now we're on a newer level where we can actually just speak openly with one another.
Yeah,
that's a great place.
Yeah, the question I've been asked more than any others once we kind of turn that corner is, Father, do you use shampoo? Because for people who don't know what I look like, I don't have a lot of hair. So, and the students are quick to point that out, and so that yeah, questions like that shows me they're getting comfortable with me, that they can kind of poke fun a little bit. And that's when things get fun.
That's awesome. That is so fantastic. So, are there any other duties that we haven't covered, within being a school chaplain that you would like to mention?
Yeah. Otherwise, it's just kind of being available, just showing up to stuff. I try to go to as many of like the sporting events as I can. Go to like the band concerts, the plays, stuff like that, just being there to support the kids. Just trying to have a kind of a priestly and a fatherly presence in their lives.
That's awesome. So do you get to travel like specifically on the bus, or do you drive yourself? Cause you're like, I don't want to drive on a stinky bus. And...
I drive myself.
Okay.
I could probably ride on the bus if I wanted to, but, no, I've always just driven myself. I find I get home and get to bed sooner if I do that. So
I would have chosen that too. You're smart. That's awesome.
It's a little more comfortable than the school bus. But...
Yeah, absolutely. And less stinky.
Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome. You are listening to Father Brian McCaffery. We're talking on our Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon. We're spreading the joy of the gospel. We're talking with him about the joy of being a high school chaplain. Here in about 10 minutes, we'll do our second trivia question. So stay tuned, be patient, and we'll get to that here in just a little bit. But first, I want to remind people of a couple of things. One of them is that that in studio a line that you can call. And so if you have a question for Father Brian McCaffery, or if you have a question for any of our guests today or throughout the week, you can call 785-621-5061. That's 785-621-5061, and we'll get that question either personally on the air, or you can have them just send it into the studio for us. Our trivia and pledge donation line is 785-621-4110. That's 785-621-4110. And you can also go and donate at dvmercy.com. We do have that Care-a-thon goal of $125,000. So please help us to get to that goal. Partner with us. Spread the joy of the gospel. 785-621-4110. Let's see if we can get some new donors this hour. And I'll see if they put that up there. But let's see if we can get a $100 donor here and maybe a $500 donor. I know we've got some out there. If you're driving along, first pull over, don't cause a wreck, and call in, donate to 785-621-4110, and help us to keep these radio waves going. All right, we're going to get back with Father Brian McCaffery. Just got done talking about not riding on the stinky bus to sports games. But what have you seen, just kind of a side question here, what have you seen in your interactions with kids and, the relationship that you get to build as the school chaplain with them? So
can you be more specific?
Yeah. So as you've been here for almost half a school
Mhm.
year now, and if you've gone through your days, how have you seen the relationships change and build a little bit with the students that are within TMP?
Oh, I see. I mean, as time goes on, I just kind of see the students open up more. They start to get more. It's kind of like when I first get there, they don't know how to act. Or, like they're trying to feel me out, trying to figure out, who is this new guy. So as time goes on, I start to interact with them. They open up more. They get more comfortable. They start to share themselves more. And like they kind of get maybe more authentically themselves. Whether it's more goofy or more asking the questions they really want to know or whatever. So they start to open up more.
So like the questions, like you said, like, is he going to get mad if I talk about his
right,
baldness?
Yeah. Stuff like that. Yeah.
Okay. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
I imagine as a priest, one of the best things is, hearing confessions.
Mhm.
Is that, obviously you can't reveal anything from confession, but is that something that you've noticed also? Do kids get more comfortable as the year go on and you start getting more
Yeah.
regular confessions and things like that?
Yeah. And, that was something I saw like in my 3 years as chaplain at Salina too. Yeah, as the year went on, suddenly more kids started coming to confession, or you might have certain kids who, little by little throughout the year, trying to get to know them, trying to answer their questions, trying to, chip away at whatever walls they have built up, stuff like that. And then one day they come in and to confession and just give this huge confession. And it's like, all right, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That's a victory. And so, yeah, I do notice that over time they get more comfortable, more courageous and everything to come into the confessional.
Yeah, that is a blessing. And here, not this year, but last year, and just to kind of speak to the blessing of having you as priests physically present in the school, how important I think that is. I had a young lady who I taught, I won't mention her name, but she was at the girls' retreat and it was at St. Nick's. And since I worked there, I was helping out just behind the scenes and stuff. And she came up to me and she said, I went to confession for the first time since, I don't know. She said it had been years, and this is a high school, maybe junior,
Mhm.
something like that. So for a junior who hasn't been in years, that's not a real long time in their life,
Right.
but it's a long time to have not gone to confession,
Right.
being that their first confession wasn't too long ago, and,
Uh-huh.
and so like on one hand, you're like, that's a long time. But on the other hand, I was like, that's such a blessing.
Oh, yeah.
That is so beautiful. And it was just because, we have priests that are available. We have things that they're able to go to and then take advantage of in that sacrament. And so it becomes one of those things where it becomes more normal to them and
Mhm.
less scary. And then finally one day, like you were saying, maybe they're able to take that leap and go, you know what? I think it's time I went back.
Yeah, for sure. And those are some of the best moments just as a priest, when you see somebody come back to the Lord like that after being away for a while.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for that. 785-621-4110. We're talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. If you have any questions, call in and let us know those questions. 785-621-5061. All right. So getting back to Father Brian McCaffery, kids they're wonderful. They have amazing brains. I don't think that we give them enough credit. Sometimes they can soak up a lot of information. Unfortunately, it's not always good. So that's probably part of your duties as a chaplain, and as a Christian man, is to help evangelize the young church. So what have you found in regards to what is difficult, what's rewarding, anything you want to speak to in regards to evangelizing high school youth?
Sure. I think for me, one of the best things I've found is just the importance of just showing up to things, being present in their lives, just getting to know them. So, when I was getting ordained, about a week before my ordination, I ran into a priest I know in Kansas City who he had a number of years of experience as being a high school chaplain. And I knew I would be the chaplain at Sacred Heart in Salina. And I really didn't know what that was supposed to look like, because this might surprise some people. seminary doesn't teach you how to be a high school chaplain. You know, I had a summer of learning how to be a hospital chaplain. You know, military chaplains have their own training. High school chaplain, there's no class for that. You know, you just get thrown into the school and you figure it out. So I was open to any and all advice. And I ran into this priest I knew, and I said, all right, based on your experience, what should I be doing as a high school chaplain? Like, what's, you know, your best advice? And all he said was, just show up to anything that a dad would go to. You know, go to the sports games, go to the band concerts, you know, just go to that stuff. And that's 90% of the job. And I was kind of disappointed by that, because I'm like, no, like we need like evangelization tactics. You know, I need like a pastoral vision. You know, I need to, you know, be doing retreats and Bible studies and this, that, and the other, you know, and have certain standards and benchmarks to be meeting. And but he's like, no, forget about all that. Just show up. That's all you need to do. And I had another priest then later tell me the exact same thing. And so I found that just showing up to stuff is really 90% of the job, because I show up to the games, I show up to the concerts, whatever. They see me there, they realize, oh, he cares. If he cares about me, maybe I can trust him. Maybe I should listen to him. So then they're more inclined to, you know, listen to my advice or come to me when they need help or whatever. And then it takes time to build that relationship, but over time, suddenly it's, I just find it's easier to reach them. It's easier to have an impact on their lives, because that kind of trust in that relationship has been built up.
Yeah, I think that is great information. I mean, just naturally, as you mentioned, parents, you know, for parents too, you know, obviously parents can't be at everything, but whatever you can be, you know, it's important that your kids see you there, and so that they know, like you said, wait a minute, they do care.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I mean, it doesn't matter which team I'm on, but it just matters that mom and dad were there.
Yeah.
And they're showing up. And so I really like hearing that, because I think Father Fred told me the same thing one time when I was teaching.
Yeah.
He's like, make sure you show up.
Yeah. He was one of the ones who told me.
Okay.
Yeah. He was the second priest who told me, show up. That's it.
I was going to say, that sounded very Father Fred-esque.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, they say like people don't care how much you know till they know how much you care.
Yeah.
And I think that's especially true with teenagers, with youth. You know, we can try to share the faith with them. We can try to evangelize them, everything. They don't really care what we have to tell them unless they know that we care about them.
Yeah.
And so
that's a very good point, because I'll just share a quick experience I had in class one time, where I was talking with a young lady, and we got down to the end of it, and I said, so the way that we've reasoned through this, do you have any logical reason then to hold that standpoint? And she goes, no, but I still am going to, and I'm going to do what I want. Like, well, that pretty much tells me everything. And right. I think that goes to a lot to what you're saying is I didn't really have a relationship in any manner. It was just the student teacher thing. And so she admitted that I had all the right answers, but because we didn't have any sort of personal relationship, then she was just like, but I really don't want to listen to you.
Yeah. Like, and, you know, one thing I sometimes think of, so I actually taught when I was in Salina as well. I taught the senior religion class for 2 of my 3 years. And so all my students are now in college. And every once in a while, some of them will reach out to me, you know, with questions or, you know, they need advice. And it's happened a few times that the question they're asking me is something we covered in class. And I'll tell them, I'm like, you remember we talked about this in class? They're like, yeah, I know, but I don't remember, you know. So I realized like they don't remember everything you tell them anyway. But what they did remember was, I know Father Brian, I trust Father Brian. You know, that relationship was there. So they knew to come to me when they got to a point in life when the question actually mattered, you know.
Yeah, that is beautiful. Thank you for that. I am going to break in with our second trivia question. All right. So actually, I'm going to have Father read this one also. Okay. As you know, call into 785-621-4110 if you think you have the answer to this question. We'll get you entered into that $50 gift certificate drawing. We draw that right before the 6 o'clock hour. And if you are the winner, that is a gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts. And even if you don't win, please go support them. It is a beautiful, just a wonderful, joyful store. They are joyful people, Jerome and Angela and their daughters. Go visit them, support them. And here we go with our question. All right, Father.
Okay, which of these saints was not a martyr? Was it A, St. Thomas the Apostle, B, St. Thomas More, C, St. Thomas Aquinas, or D, St. Maximilian Kolbe? So again, which of these saints was not a martyr? A, St. Thomas the Apostle, B, St. Thomas More, C, St. Thomas Aquinas, D, St. Maximilian Kolbe.
Call in to 785-621-4110. We're also looking for those pledges, so you don't have to call in just for a trivia question answer. That's the same number that you'll call to give us your pledge. We've got that Care-a-thon goal of $125,000. We started this morning with, I don't know, I'll find that number and give it to you guys here in a little bit. It's somewhere in all my paperwork, but we were blessed yesterday by all the donations. We've been blessed this morning, and we thank you, whatever you can give, especially if we've got some new donors out there. We'd love to see those new donors. We appreciate everything that our, I don't want to call you old donors. I should say legendary. Our legendary donors, the ones who are always giving. Thank you so very much for that. But also we have some of those donors who gave us these pre-Care-a-thon donations that are matching funds, so that whenever we do have those donors, those funds get matched immediately. They get doubled immediately, and they want us to use their money. You don't have often when people come and go, here, please spend my money, please match and spend my money. We have that advantage that we have such wonderful donors that they do that for us. Help us to use their money today. Help us to use it to get the joy of the gospel out there. 785-621-4110 or donate at dvmercy.com. We're in speaking with Father Brian McCaffery. He is the high school chaplain at Thomas More Prep, Marion Junior and Senior High School here in Hayes. Sorry, my tongue is getting a little tied there. So we're talking about the joys of being a high school chaplain. If I could back up just a little bit, Father, what are some of the, as you go into classes, what are some of the deepest questions, or maybe some of the most thoughtful questions, or if you can't think of a specific question, maybe centered around, what are they most centered around? What are the kids, besides the goofy stuff?
Sure.
Is there something that they really want to know?
I think they're at a stage in their lives when, they're not just, blindly accepting everything they're told in class. Like grade school kids, you can basically teach them the Bible and they're going to accept what you tell them. High school kids start to question things. Is this actually true? How do I know I can trust you? The people on TikTok are telling me something different, then they have all these other voices, all these other influences on social media, movies, music, whatever. And they're trying to figure out what is true, what is not. And so, like I can't think of specific questions, but I think a lot of them are just kind of rooted in like, how do I know I can trust the church? Why should I keep going to mass after high school? The church says this certain behavior is sinful. Why is it sinful?
Yeah.
Or why should I care that it's sinful?
Yeah, that's a big one. Wow. So, in answering those questions too, I think it is important, as you were talking, that that relationship is there first, because otherwise, like I said, it doesn't matter if you have all the right answers. They're just kind of like, yeah, but why do I want to listen to you?
Right.
So how do you overcome the voices out there? Because we do know, even kids will tell you, they're like, yeah, I know TikTok's terrible, but I still watch it, and they're like, it's not like they're actually dumb to the fact that like, this is probably rotting your brain. They'll just admit it, but say, but I'm still going to do it. So how do you overcome a lot of those cultural voices?
Yeah, it's tough. And I don't know if I have like a clear, solid answer to that. Because it's a battle, we're really like in a battle for these kids' hearts, for their minds. And I don't know all the right battle tactics, but, I think just keep showing up, keep working on that relationship, keep speaking truth to them. It's like, I'm forgetting what saint it was who said, the truth is like a lion. You don't need to defend it. You just need to let it out of its cage and it'll defend itself. And so, sometimes that's it. They'll say, hey, TikTok says this. And it's like, well, let me tell you what truth is, and I'll just speak the truth. And it's up to them whether or not they want to accept it or reject it. But sometimes the truth just kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah. And I would agree with that because I saw lots of instances in my class when I would have priests come in. And one thing that I learned from a very awesome and seasoned priest was he would be discussing things with them. And they would say something, you know, he'd give them the truth like you were talking about. And they would say, well, I don't agree with that. And he would just kind of say, well, that's your choice then, you know, but here's the truth. And so I like that you put it that way because I fell into that trap a lot. And I think this goes a lot into our own lives, not just talking about high school kids and stuff like that, but anybody that we're talking with, anybody that we're sharing the message of the gospel with. You know, there does come a point where we've said the truth and we don't have to keep beating it. You know, in fact, you know, the more that we just hammer and think that we have to be the one that shoves this into their brains, the more that they're actually just going to back away from it. So yeah, it's not that we shouldn't share it with them, but at some point we have to say, well, you know, this is what the truth is. And you have the right to have your opinion, but is that going to line up with the truth? And then just kind of let them think on it.
Yeah. And then, then still just I found it's important to just keep getting to know them, keep talking to them, you know, just let them know that you care about more than just their ability to agree with you. Like you actually care about them as a person, you know? So, you know, have a relationship where you can say, okay, we disagree, but I'm still going to come watch your volleyball game tonight. You know, like, you know, we may disagree, but hey, we both still like this movie. Let's talk about it, you know? So, still have that relationship there and, let them know you actually care about them. And not just their views or opinions.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That'll go a long way. I want to congratulate Mark Schwartz. Mark, thank you for listening. He got the trivia question. The question was, which of these saints was not a martyr? And the correct answer there is Saint Thomas Aquinas was not a martyr. Congratulations to Mark. He's going to get put into that gift certificate drawing for a $50 gift certificate to Messenger Traditional Catholic Books and Gifts this afternoon. You are listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. Help us to get to our final goal of $125,000 so that we can keep the lights on, keep the radio waves going, and keep having great guests like this. We're talking with Father Brian McCaffery on the joys of being a high school chaplain. So, Father, getting back into our discussion, we've already talked quite a bit about the students and, you know, your relationship and stuff with them. Have you seen any big impacts on the students and their lives since you've been there?
I would say nothing huge yet, at least nothing that I've noticed. I mean, kind of the hard thing that it's hard for me to gauge because I'm still new. And so like, I don't know how the students were before they had a full-time chaplain, you know? But I think there are a number of students who have figured out that I am there full-time and that I'm available. And so I do more and more as the year has gone on, students are maybe just popped by my office to ask a question or reached out to say, hey, I want to go to confession at this time, you know, and it's like, they know I'm available. So, you know, they can kind of name the time and I'll make it work. Or, you know, earlier I mentioned I'll go to the art class sometimes and pop in, you know, and that's been really fun because I went in there one day and it was a ceramics class or a sculpture class, and a few students were working and I just kind of looked at what they were doing, looked at their projects and left. Well, a week later, some of them found me and they were like, you're going to come back, right? Like, you need to see our progress, you know? So I show back up and I check the progress, and then, you know, I have to show up once a week or else they'll seek me out. And
that's awesome.
But you know, there's been a couple times I've been sitting in my office and one of the girls from that class will just suddenly be in my doorway and she'll say, come look at what I made. I'm like, okay, I'm coming. So like, you know, they've recognized that like I'm there and they want me to, you know, see their accomplishments and see what they do. And so
that's wonderful. Are you artistically talented at all?
I'm not. I don't know.
All right. So
I was always decent at drawing and stuff growing up, but I never had enough art classes to like cultivate that gift.
So could you go throw clay with them?
I never took ceramics before. I'm sure I could figure it out and be okay.
Okay.
But I don't think I'm any Michelangelo or anything.
So if there's any classes listening at TMP right now, let's throw Father into the fire and let's say, Father, what can you make? Let's see if you can go to one of their classes now and hop in and
a mess. I can make a mess.
That's me. I am not artistically talented at all, but I'd love to see now. Yeah, let's see if we can get someone to get you into the class and have you go up against the kids and see who can make the better sculpture. That'd be a good thing for you to do.
Yeah. Well, we'll think about it.
All right. Look, his face wasn't real excited there if you're watching online. All right. So I kind of want to dive in a little bit too here, Father. We've got about 15 minutes left. As you are the assistant vocations director, how is it? I think it's beautiful that you're there in the school for that. But are there certain things you guys are doing to help foster religious vocations specifically through TMP?
Yeah. I mean, one thing we actually have it here in about an hour right after I leave here. A couple times a semester, we have a group called Donuts and Discernment.
Yeah, the boys love that.
Yes. Most of the high school is signed up for it. I think mostly because they get a free donut. But,
yeah.
But basically, the two sisters at the school, Sister Mary Monica and Sister Mary Agnes, they take the girls. Then Father Andy and we take the guys, and we have them for 30, 40 minutes, something like that. And we just talk about something related to vocations, discernment, and they get donuts. So that's why most of them sign up, is a free donut. But we have them there. We have an audience, so we can hopefully say something that makes it stick.
Yeah. Did you go? Were you one of them that went then to Wichita with the group?
No, so I would have. I guess that's another thing I should say. Recently Father Andy took a group of high school kids to the seminary in Wichita. We have a couple guys there studying, and he took them along so they could see this place. And I was not able to go. I was actually in San Antonio visiting my sister and her newborn baby. So
what a
the
blessing.
timing didn't work out, but normally that is something that I would have gone on.
Okay. Yes. Now, is the seminary in Wichita, is it structured differently than other seminaries, or is it pretty much the same? Or
yeah, it's a little different. So it's what we call a house of formation. And so this is something a lot of dioceses are doing, where with their college age guys, instead of sending the guy away to a college seminary, they have a house in their diocese where they kind of do their own formation, and they they have a couple priests who work there and just form the guys right there. And so Wichita has one of these houses where all of their college seminarians just live at this house in Wichita. They take philosophy classes there in town and do the rest of their formation just right there. And then they go on to the actual seminary for theology studies. But we have two of our college guys there. So it's different in the sense that it's not, it's not a place where a whole lot of dioceses have come together. I guess on the day-to-day aspect, a lot of it probably looks the same. They go to class, they have meetings, they have prayer time, but it's just kind of a bit of a different environment than your regular seminary.
So it's kind of like I don't want to say seminary light, but is it kind of like a stepping stone then? So you would go there, get a degree, and then move to a different seminary to be fully formed. Is that what you're saying? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say it's seminary light, because they're getting like the same type of formation you get at a seminary. It's just in a much smaller local environment.
Gotcha. Okay. So maybe that way you're not as far removed from home. And okay. So would they spend then like 4 years there, or what would that?
Okay. Yeah. So basically it's basically like going to college. You go there for 4 years, get your college degree. But at the same time, you also have spiritual formation. You're doing some sort of ministry to get like pastoral formation. And they're just working on, it's what we call human formation, but it's just, how are you as a human being? Are you polite? Are you, are you putting on deodorant? Just stuff like that. All these things. That's actually
really good, because high school boys are horrible at it. And unless they're, unless high school boys are interested in girls, because for some reason, once they get interested in girls, they're just like, oh, maybe I should start smelling.
Yeah, they start to care a little bit more.
But then I suppose maybe when you go off to seminary, then you're just like, I'm around a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, I mean, some guys, but the seminary kind of works with us on that. To make sure.
That is smart.
Yeah, because I think it's Saint Ignatius of Loyola. I think it was him that after his big conversion, he decided like, I'm going to embrace humility. I don't need to impress anyone, and so he stopped bathing and stopped clipping his nails and stopped grooming his hair and everything. And he found out pretty quickly he wasn't able to evangelize people because he stunk. Nobody wanted to be around him, and so he was like, okay, like it's not about vanity. It's just,
you're really intelligent, but I cannot stand being
right. Yeah. So he started bathing again and cutting his hair, and so yeah, same is true for us as priests. That's part of the formation is.
Yeah. That is great that they're doing that, because there's a lot of things that, and I think there are just things that people don't think about. That
Mhm.
even living on your own later, that's a lot of things that people have never done.
Mhm.
And so they get thrown out there, and then like, well, how do you live on your own and do all these different things, and hopefully mom and dad taught you some of them.
Yep.
But that's really cool that they're actually doing that. Like, let's work on you as a person also.
Oh yeah.
That is fantastic. Well, you are listening to Father Brian McCaffery. We're talking about the joys of being a high school chaplain. You are on Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon, Joy of the Gospel. Want to remind everybody of our matching funds. Those funds are there so that when you give, we double them immediately. So please call in with your donations, 785-621-4110. This morning, Danetta Robin was on, and she was talking about, a really neat thing to do would be to give for the year coming up 2025, give $25 a month. So 25 in 2025. That would be a wonderful thing that would help us out a ton. $25 a month in the year 2025, 785-621-4110. But also I want to remind everybody, we love all of our donors. If all you can give is $5, then that's fantastic. If you can give 100, that's fantastic. If you can give $1,000, same thing. Whatever you can give, call us up, 785-621-4110. Partner with us to spread the joy of the gospel. Right now, we're spreading that joy, talking with Father Brian McCaffery. He is the high school and junior high chaplain over at Thomas More Prep Marion High School and Junior High. And we have been discussing a little bit on a recent trip that was taken to Wichita. And even though he couldn't go, we were discussing what it looks like, how they form people and stuff like that. So Father, then maybe that leads us back then into our final topic we can discuss as, what's most rewarding as a high school chaplain?
Yeah, it's a couple things come to mind. One, just for me personally, it gives me an experience of fatherhood, of getting to be a father. I have all these kids, and I feel like they're my kids, and I get to kind of do a lot of the things that a dad does. I mean, you look at the roles of a father. A father is someone who provides, who protects, who teaches, who disciplines. So obviously, as a priest, I don't have my own biological children. I'm not a father in that sense, but in another sense, like in a spiritual sense, I do get to provide. I get to protect and teach and all of that. I get to kind of live out all of those roles of being a father. And then especially just like as I go to the games and stuff, like I feel like I'm actually like a dad watching my kids, and I'm just like proud of them, whether they win or lose. It's just a joy to be there. So just for me personally, that's one of the most rewarding things, is just getting to be a father, and then kind of like watching them grow up. So like I mentioned, a lot of my former students are in college now.
Yeah.
Just last week, two of them that were dating in high school, they just reached out to me, said they got engaged. They want me to do the wedding, and my first thought was, aren't they a little young to be getting married? But then I realized, wait a minute, no, they're 21 years old. I mean, they're not kids anymore; they're adults. And you probably experienced this as a dad, like your kids grow up fast.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of had that thought, like they grow up so fast,
Yeah.
In my mind, they're still just younger, but
No,
so yeah, just kind of getting to watch the kids grow up like that is really cool. So there's that, but then also the other like rewarding thing, I guess, is we kind of talked about this earlier, but they're at like a very crucial time in their life when they're asking a lot of questions. Do I actually believe the faith? Why should I trust the church? But not just related to the faith, but also like they're looking at the world around them and they're trying to figure out, who am I? What is reality? What is my place in the world? what do I do after high school? They're crossing that bridge from childhood to adulthood and just trying to figure it out. And it's a really important, crucial time, and just getting to be with them and help them navigate that is a really cool experience and a really privileged place to be. Especially when I've been able to see that I have been able to help someone, or I should say the Holy Spirit has been able to work through me to help someone. I don't want to take all the credit. But so like in my experience back in Salina, I taught my classes theology of the body. And so we talked a lot about, sexuality and love and relationships and stuff like that. And, so I teach all of this, and then I find out later, either directly from a student or through the grapevine, that because of what we talked about in class, that then influenced who they dated or how they dated, or certain couples broke up, or other people decided to not date the person they were going to, or, just stuff like that. Or some of the girls changed their standards on who they're going to date, and it's just kind of all because of what we talked about in class. And so that's really rewarding to be able to teach something, but then actually see the kids embrace it and put it into practice in their lives, because like as a priest, we hear this a lot, like on Sunday as people are walking out of mass, oh, good sermon, Father, good homily, and like, that's nice. Thank you. Like, I appreciate the compliment, the feedback. But what I really like is when someone says, hey, that homily you gave 3 months ago when you talked about prayer, like, I started following your advice and it changed the way I pray. It's like, okay, that's what I want to hear. Like, I don't want to hear that you just enjoyed listening to me. I want to hear that you actually did listen to me, put it into practice, and now it's having a positive effect on your life. And so when I get to see that play out in the lives of the youth, that's really rewarding. Because like, okay, I'm actually doing something, or the Holy Spirit is actually doing something through me, something worthwhile and productive. So.
Yeah, that is absolutely wonderful. Now, we only have a couple minutes here, but one of the other things I think is beautiful, maybe you can speak to this a little bit, is for a long time at TMP, I felt bad for the girls because there really wasn't much for them. We had priests around to some degree, and so I could have priests come in and talk, discuss vocations. Nothing to the degree that you're able to do now, which is a beautiful blessing. But now we have the sisters there.
Yes.
So can you speak in, just in about 3 or 4 minutes here, to the blessing of having those sisters there, anything that you've seen, or maybe whatever you've noticed toward vocations, or just even opening up as girls to motherly figures?
Yeah. Having the sisters there is great. They're a big blessing. Because, I talked about how I'm like the spiritual father to the school. The sisters are like the spiritual mothers to the church, and, when you just have a priest, it's kind of like a single parent household, it's not to say anything against those single parents out there who are working very hard and doing a great job, but, we know it's best to have a mother and a father in the house. That's what's healthiest for the kids. Well, the same thing is true in the church, in a school environment. They need a spiritual father and a spiritual mother. And so I think it's just good for the overall like health of the school to have the sisters there. I know some of the girls have become very curious just about what convent life is like. Maybe they're not necessarily discerning, but they're just curious. Like, we want to see it. What is it like? Can we go visit, stuff like that? So, so they're just really open to questions. I think a lot of them ask the sisters questions about just what their life is like. Can you see your family? Do you have to always wear that? Just stuff like that. They have a lot of questions. They're curious. But I think a lot of them also have looked to them as motherly figures. They're able to open up to them in a way that they maybe wouldn't to like a priest, just because of the fact that I'm a man and they're a woman, and sometimes girls are just better at opening up to women. So I think it's great to have the sisters around.
That is wonderful. Well, thank you so very much for what you do. We appreciate it. We'll be praying for you. Would you leave us in with a priestly blessing, please?
Absolutely. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Heavenly Father, we thank you for all of your many gifts. We thank you for this radio station and all of our listeners and benefactors, and we ask for your continued blessing upon all of us who do the work of evangelization, and upon all of those who listen and support this station. May Almighty God bless all all of you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Amen.
Father, thank you very much for your time. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Have a great day.
You too.
We just got done listening to Father Brian McCaffery speaking about the joys of being a high school chaplain. You're listening to Divine Mercy Radio's Fall Care-a-thon. I want to thank Gerald Stritt of Hayes, who donated $500. We're doubling that with our matching funds to $1,000. Thank you very much, Gerald, for doing that. I really appreciate it. The station appreciates it. Thank you for partnering with us. Let's see how many other partners we can get out there today. Join with Gerald. Call 785-621-4110. I support this station.